Hey everybody, I have a sponsor. It is Sagen Financial Group. They have this product called Relax Tax by Sagen Financial Group, and what you do is you submit your tax info online and it gets processed by one of their specialists. No unnecessary appointments, no calls unless you request one, completely on your schedule. And best of all, the listeners of the KAAMP get a 10% off code for Relax Tax by Sagan Financial Group. Just go to relaxtax.com. That is RELAXEDTAX.com and use coupon code KAAMP in the tax client intake form. Sagen Financial Group is in Chattanooga and they serve all 50 states. And part of the proceeds will go to directly supporting the KAAMP podcast. And I think that's awesome. So I'll put the link in the show notes. Just remember the KAAMP is your coupon code for 10% off for the Relax Tax by Sagen Financial Group. Also, thank you for listening, and I really appreciate it. Everybody, this is Thomas Zachary. This is the next episode of the KAAMP. It's raining, so all you ASMR 11 folks should enjoy the breeze and the sound and a little bit of traffic noise. It's fun. Today is a gloomy day, but we're going to have a fun conversation. So, friend, here we are. Will you introduce yourself?
Oh, hi, I am Keith Bryant. I live in the local Knoxville area. Been here for about 2 years and do mixed media sculpture and upcycling sculpture.
And what particular things do you upcycle in your work?
Primarily bicycle components. I worked in the motorcycle industry for a long time originally, so some of that was kind of coming over at first, but I've kind of since ran through most of that. But yeah, mostly worn components off of bicycles. I work in the industry as a mechanic, and I have for about 6 years now, maybe 7. And then also kind of grab up, some glass, vintage jewelry, things like costume jewelry from like 60s and 70s, kind of cool stuff like that. I'll implement, as like a little centerpiece into something. But yeah, most of it's metals, sprockets, gears, cogs,
levers.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and then just use the kind of wood to kind of fix everything to it.
So where did your creativity start? Have you done all sorts of stuff your whole life, or is this a recent thing? Or
a little bit, yeah. I've actually I've always done art. It's just kind of like an itch to scratch. Even if I had to make it and throw it in the trash, I still would.
Yeah.
But I got back into it aggressively probably about 3 years ago.
Aggressively.
Yeah.
Aggressively.
Yeah, like just really putting time into it. Because I would maybe mess around for a couple hours a month, and now I'm working nearly part-time, making stuff. Senior year in high school, we had a cool art program. Mrs. Tobin was awesome. We gave her a really hard time, but we also made really cool art. So,
shout out to the art teachers.
Yeah. She rules. So yeah, I kind of started to make there was a gap between what normal people were making and what some of the people that actually seemed to have a little bit of natural talent. So I saw that in high school, and after that, I did some apprenticeship work in soft glass. So I blew glass for about 6 years.
Nice.
Out of high school. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I've done that a few times over the last couple decades, but I'd like to get back into it. But everyone's so good at that.
Yeah, if you do it, you have to be good at it.
Yeah, the people who are like the talent level, it's like getting into BMX biking, and then like everyone's on X Games level. You're like, all right, that is not fun, but you still want to be successful too. So I like tinkering with things, so I want to have consistent money. So
right,
yeah, kind of like moved a little bit away from the arts and just became a mechanic. It's, just really just pretty easy transition.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, and still dabbled around with some woodworking and a little bit of stuff over the years, but kind of like I said, getting into the cycling industry the last 6 years, I started making trophies for events. And
Was that a thing where you just made something cool and somebody saw it and was like, hey, can you do some more of that?
Yep, yeah, basically, like I would bring something for like my desk, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like I'd like turn some piece of wood down, have it like sitting on a bunch of sprockets, and use it to hold my pens. And they're like, oh, where's that come from? I'm like, oh, I just made it. You know what I mean? And they're like, all right, cool. Can I have one? So, yeah, I started doing that and kind of getting a little bit better at it. But yeah, the trophy thing was kind of cool because I had a few friends that when I lived in Pittsburgh that put on bike races, so they helped kind of do that. And the shop I was at was also supportive and featuring my work for sale there, and you know, getting me to make trophies for their bike races
right.
too. They wanted to have, you know, standouts, again, like a really cool, unique, like sculpted piece of wood with like bike components on it versus like a plastic golden angel.
Right, yeah.
That.
I would rather have anything but that almost.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like a pint glass. It's
yeah,
like,
sure.
It's like, yeah, we ride bikes, we drink beer, like we have lots of pint glasses. So yeah, like that kind of started building the momentum a little bit. And then when I moved down here, I really started like trying to get going again and spending, like I said, maybe closer to 20, 30 hours a week versus maybe doing 4 or 5 hours a month. Working on stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely more part-time hours.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like working out or anything else. You know, you when you're doing it that much more consistently, how fast ideas come and how quickly you can complete things.
Yes.
All that kind of goes up with it. Because I've never been like, I'm like hitting almost production level with some of the stuff I'm making just because I'm making it that quick.
You're familiar with the process now, so it's just.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I kind of got it figured out. So. Don't want to get stagnant in what I'm doing, but I'm still always kind of pushing it a little bit, trying to get more unique, bigger pieces, or just more detail work, so I stand out a little bit more.
Are those always the ways you're pushing yourself?
Yeah, I think I like the engineering part of art a lot. Maybe that's like from the mechanical, you know, side of my brain too. Not as much about the message. I like how neat the arrangement is, or how difficult it is to create. I kind of like music like that too. Yeah.
So the composition and construction is more where you're at.
Yeah, it's more appealing, like how impossible it is to do, or like than like what they're talking about, or like what they're singing about, or like kind of what it means. So I just like, yeah, so I always kind of want to make it look cleaner, especially if you like miss an opportunity or don't get chosen for something. You're like, why was that? Of course, it's all eye of the beholder, but
right.
You're like, okay, I could probably like this could have been cleaner, or I could have spent more detail work on this, or you know, things like that. Did you think about people that do these massive paintings or sculptures that they have like a year into? You're like, all right, like that's big project, like huge outcome, like yeah, you can spend a little bit more time honing it in a little bit.
So I'm looking at some of the stuff. All right, first of all, can you talk the listeners through your shop here? Can you give us an audio tour of the shop, since we have the luxury of recording here?
Yeah, all right, cool. So yeah, my garage is my main studio space. I also employ the Knox Makers Guild for some of their bigger equipment for dimensioning wood. But I do all the finishing and a lot of the other stuff here. My lathe is here. I've got a bunch of saws here. So yeah, I've got a large bench on casters. So when I'm usually making a mess, I'll just push that right out into the driveway and just blow the dust down the road.
Yeah, there you go.
Instead of having to get like a dust collection system out here.
No, you're in the garage. Just
just paint my car instead. And then kind of as it wraps around, got some shelves. Being that I use a lot of upcycled materials, you hoard every weird trinket you find.
So, do you like see a wrecked bike or something on the street and you're just like, oh shit, art supplies, and grab it?
Yeah, well, like that in the shop too. Like you take these things off people's bikes and you're like, hey, do you want your worn disc brake rotors back? And they kind of look at you like, what on earth for? I'm like, yeah, I know. What could you possibly do with it? Yeah,
it's fine. I'll dispose of them. I promise.
I'll use some careful wording like, would you like me to recycle these for you, or would you like them back? And they're like, oh, great, they're being recycled.
Right.
Yeah, I feel good about that. Yeah, have those. So lots of racking with shelves, some bit of controlled chaos where I know certain things are. I know certain parts for fasteners are over here and sprockets are over there. Was gifted the original fridge when we bought this house. I have a full-size fridge out here, which is cool for delicious beverages.
Right.
My toolbox, which is just like standard tools. I have like my other boxes at work with all the bicycle-specific stuff. 2 big pegboard setups with lots of rotors and sprockets hung up on there. Some bolt bins. A new addition, which was cool. Big drill press, well, bench top one, as big as that can get. I was spending a lot of time driving up to Knox Makers just to drill 2 holes because they needed to be perfectly straight.
Right.
I'm like, this is getting tedious. Let's do this at the house. I got some jerseys for when I used to race for Blazing Saddles Cycles in Cleveland, which is an awesome shop. Really cool dudes.
If that's the name, they better be the coolest dudes.
Yeah. Yeah. All tatted up, super fast, real cool dudes. Some of my Shimano certifications that I kind of made into like a bit of an art piece.
Are those mechanical certifications?
Yeah. So for like understanding like their brake system, their drivetrains,
Gotcha.
And like once you get like a completion, they'll send these cool little like stamped metal placards. Kind of got just like a wooden desk that I do a lot of the finishing work on, and then I have a wooden shelf that have some completed artworks on currently from my Emporium exhibition.
So one thing I notice about your work is that some of the forms are pretty organic, and I don't see any fasteners at all.
Yeah, I try to hide a lot of it, but it is all bolted together.
Right.
Yeah, like welding is some place I'd like to get to eventually, because then I can weld some of the stuff together and then bolt that to the wood or just have it all welded together. But I used to do gluing a little bit, but sometimes I'd have great, turnout with that. But I was always afraid of it being fragile, having to ship it, and like there's like a piece sitting in the box that popped off it, in transit. So try to use things to be glued and screwed together, so it's
double secure.
Super rigid. I have this like fear of shipping these things and it not showing up like, looking exactly how they did in the photo.
Right. That phone call is never one you want to get.
Yeah, because I'm like, they're not talk someone through how to repair something I made. It's like, just ship it back at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Send it back to you at my expense.
Yeah.
So everything's been pretty good that way. I usually try to like run one single bolt through the metal into the wood, so it just kind of sandwiches it all together, and it's pretty easy to hide that when you do that. At most, I'll glue something over the top of the bolt, or it almost kind of integrates with the aesthetic too. So if I put it strategically in a good spot, it looks intentional. I guess it is intentional.
But it becomes even more intentional when you accentuate it.
Yeah. Or I'll make sure to like throw a bunch in a pattern so like it looks like.
It's like with music, if you mess up, do it 3 more times.
Yeah, right. That's good.
So, do you have a favorite wood or woods to work with?
Not really. I use mostly like native woods, like stuff from out here. I was really big into crazy exotic woods when I first got into woodworking. But they look really obviously pretty, but the dust can be toxic. They're expensive.
Or they're just stupid hard to work with.
Yeah. Being that I've gotten way more into turning, some woods turn awesome. Some woods just like, it's like violent. You know what I mean? Like pieces just explode off of it while you're trying to like make it look good, and then you're spending forever sanding it to try to get that like super clean finish on it. I use maple a lot, walnut a lot. Good light wood, good dark wood. Mahogany, I kind of got into that recently. It's pretty soft. It turns really good. Cocobolo, which is like pretty hard to come by. It's quite expensive these days. That is like one of the best turning woods I think I've used. It's like a soft, dense plastic when you're turning it. So it's like super smooth, and then like it sands super fast. So
it's friendly.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any of that out here. This is.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of like almost orangish kind of wood with like kind of like black marbleizing grain throughout it. I was gifted a bunch of it and didn't realize the value of it until I went to Jeffrey's recently, and like a small turning block that you might be able to make like a can of pop out of was like $60 or something like that. So I'm like, ooh, you made some silly things out of that wood, not realizing what it was.
Hindsight.
Yeah, all right. But that's all right.
So when I was scrolling through your Instagram the other day, the lamps you made out of the rims.
Yes.
I like those a lot. They're really simple, but they scratch all the mechanical engineering itches that I have about things like that.
Yeah, I haven't not made one of those in a while, and I got the beginnings of one going. Like that's a base for it, and then like even some spokes in this one, which would be rad. That was like the first lamp I tried to do. Someone had shared a photo of somebody else who did something real similar. on my social media, and was like, "Hey, I bet you can make that." And sure enough,
And you're like, shit, would you look at that?
yeah, no. So they, yeah, I got to go to like some thrift stores because I was just going to thrift stores and buying like cheap desk lamps for like $3, and then just taking the cone, the lamp like cover out of it, and like the wiring and the switch, and just wiring it through the rim. Yeah, I've meant to make more of those again. It's been quite a while since I haven't made one of those since I've lived in Pittsburgh. So probably
it was some older pictures. I was taking a deep dive.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Some people, I'm like, oh, some of my coolest stuff's like way in there.
Yeah, deep dive.
Yeah, so more of those. I've been using the bike forks a lot lately for lamps too. That's been a lot of fun. Those have turned out really cool.
Have you thought about turning lampshades for these lamps?
No, and I've seen someone recently do it too, where they were able to like take a huge piece of wood, and they were able to like get it that thin that with a bulb inside of it, you can still see light through the wood. It was radical. I don't know if my skill set is quite there. One thing I wanted to do, because making a lampshade makes sense. You know what I mean? Not everyone wants like an Edison bulb and no lampshade, I wanted to weld chain, bicycle chain, to make like the structure of it. I don't know if I'd stretch any canvas over it, probably not, but even just have like some chain, just
I think that would be really cool.
Aesthetic of the shade, like that kind of cone shape.
And light would come through it, and the gaps and whatnot. That'd be really neat.
You probably couldn't use a ton of chain because they probably weigh like 20 pounds. I mean, I guess you could probably design it to support that, but even if it was just like a circle on top and bottom, and it's like 4 struts supporting it, I think that would just
that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that. Throw some chain in there. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's again welding. I need to get either befriend a welder or get into it myself. And Knox Makers has all that stuff. I just gotta go through the kind of bit of training so to make sure I don't hurt myself with the equipment and
burn the house down, all that good stuff.
Right. Yeah, I'm like half Dracula. I'm very fair skinned, so like right. Yeah.
As we both sit here and look at our forearms.
I've gotten sunburned from welding.
Yes.
Just how bright it is. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So my skin is just so fair.
Yeah. I've also suffered that.
That's hilarious. Yeah, so I gotta keep that in mind as well.
So I've got some questions about your collection of brake discs over here.
Yes.
What's the biggest one and what's the smallest one?
140 millimeters, which would be like on a road racing bike.
Mm-hmm.
Like kind of feather light athlete, because that wouldn't slow me down. You know what I mean? The bigger the rotor, the more stopping power.
Right.
Those I come by. Those are the biggest ones and the smallest ones are the hardest ones to come by because they're super specific bicycles. So you don't see them too often. So I think 203 millimeters is the biggest. That's like that one that's kind of got a section cut out of it.
Yeah.
And then they go usually in 20 millimeter intervals down to 140. So 160 is your most common.
That's what I've got on my trike.
Yeah. And then 180s are on mountain bikes primarily. Not the big travel mountain bikes. Those usually get bigger rotors. But I think 203 it might be the biggest rotors. I try to separate it with like how they, they're center lock or 6-bolt, and then just the sizes of them. These were all just in bins for a while. I just kind of recently started trying to get things properly organized, and trying to make it look cool out here.
Do you have a favorite look? There's all kinds of different shapes in the insides of these things. So there's like 5-spoke, 6-spoke, different kind of webs and whatnot.
Yeah, I like my personal bike. I like pretty flamboyant colors. You know what I mean? So
the shiny rainbow colored one over there.
Yeah, that's one of mine. Yeah.
It's gorgeous, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that's got the spider, which is the inside of it, like the hand.
Is that a 2-piece?
Yeah, so that's purple anodized in the middle. I like that kind of stuff. Hope makes those. They make really bougie, blingy stuff. So that's usually what I go for, is the one with the colored inside. I'm more of since I've stopped riding as much and become a larger mammal, got back into weightlifting some more, I haven't been as focused on performance, more aesthetic. You know what I mean? So I want it to look cool because I'm not going that fast. So it weighing 10 grams less is not really on the...
Well, I'm never going to advise against pretty colors.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
Yeah, so more the aesthetic of the build versus the performance aspect of it, or how lightweight I can get it, has definitely become more the goal.
So how long have you been doing this sort of stuff? When did you move down here and get serious about it?
I've been down here 2 years in August.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I came down here and was just working part-time. So I had the time to do it, and was starting to get that momentum, leaving Pittsburgh. I'm I could probably, make some money doing this again, and I was primarily thinking about trophies at that point.
Yeah.
Like making trophies for events. Thinking like that would just be a ton of production work. It's simple, it's fun, and just kind of going with that. So there was kind of we had talked about it coming down here that maybe let's try this again, see if I can get some traction and make some money doing it. And, in addition to enjoying it.
Right.
Like I do. So that was kind of what started pushing that. And I've done a few things with trophies recently. A friend of mine back in Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up, connected me with a flatland BMX competition, and they had me make trophies for that. And there was people from international. There were some Red Bull athletes that came to that,
Yeah,
so it was a pretty big event.
So people saw your work?
Yeah. So it's our Flatland Assassins. They did that was super fun. So I came up for that, dropped those off. I didn't want to ship 20, couple foot tall trophies.
I would rather move those myself too.
Yeah. I was like, I got a ton of family up there. I'll make a weekend out of it. Unfortunately, I just did not have the schedule correct, and I figured I'd show back up for the last maybe couple hours of it and then watch the podiums, and by the time I got there, it was pretty much over.
Oh, no.
I was like, a good thing it was a 14-hour round trip drive, just totally missed most of the riding, which was kind of a bummer, but
at least the trophies weren't late.
Yeah. I got there the day before, and I was like, here's your trophies, you know what I mean? I'm not messing that up, but there's some cool pictures. There's some guys who said they were professional athletes, guys that have been in the X Games, holding some of my work up, which is a cool opportunity.
Yeah, that always feels good.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I was like, all right, that was kind of the first kind of sweet opportunity I had down here, and then with the Arts and Culture Alliance, showing there, and then getting into Dogwood Arts this year. So seems like I got some good.
Yeah, that's good momentum.
Yeah, some good momentum going. So I'm trying to keep that rocking.
So did you grow up in a creative house, or was
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Very supportive of arts and music. There's a younger sister and an older brother. He doesn't do a ton of it. He's gotten into guitar a little bit recently, but my sister's an artist. She makes incredible artwork. 2D stuff, which I can't comprehend. Yeah, I've never been good at drawing, painting. I don't sketch. It's all coming out of the head. You know what I mean? At most, it might be a drunken post-it note, definitely glue this here. Don't forget. You know what I mean? Or some crude, drawing of kind of a shape, what I kind of want it to look like.
I know what this means.
Yeah. I'll hopefully remember this in the morning. I get a little carried away out here sometimes. But we played music. I played drums for 10 years, played in crazy metal bands, and my parents were all about that.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I'm sure they loved it, but at least they supported it. My sister plays all sorts of world instruments, harp, piano, different flutes, big into those hand pans. Mm-hmm. She's rocking that out. But she does a lot of sustainability-driven artwork. That's what she does for a living. So uses pieces of leaves to create insects and stuff like that, and animal faces. And she's had some pretty cool showings up in Ohio where she's still at.
Nice.
Yeah, so definitely creative household. My mom, dad both play music. Did oil painting for a while.
Oh, so you were stuck no matter what. Something was going to happen.
Yeah, one of those two. Music or art there was going to be a feature at some point. I got into both. I haven't played drums in probably 10 years, but that's on the radar. I'd like to get back into that.
Yeah.
Kind of another thing that that's when I play in metal again. It's it's gotten so fast. You know what I mean? It's so complicated. I'm do you even really want to put yourself through that trauma of trying to
get up to
those
speed
speeds?
with that.
You know what I mean? But we'll see.
But regardless, it's a thing you enjoy it. You'll do it for your own pleasure at some point.
So I definitely have never had any issues being self-driven. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I always want to be at least as long as I'm as good or better than the average person who does this. Hopefully a little bit better, but
you wouldn't want to set the bar too high for yourself, would you?
Yeah. Yeah, I like to this be good enough for on the local level you're someone of kind of note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good goal.
I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Favorite metal bands? 3 of them. Come on.
Oof.
I'm putting you on the spot now.
Yeah.
Tough questions.
I've been really into a lot of progressive metal, and then instrumental tech metal mostly. Again, like I said, I like the complication.
Yeah.
So most music I listen to doesn't have vocals anymore. Big into Animals as leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Townsend, Opeth. That's kind of more the progressive side of it, but Let's see, try to think of what I've been listening to a ton of. Pliny, yeah, all that stuff's been super cool. Weird time signatures that don't make sense. Yeah, like dare to count this. Yeah,
sounds good. Don't analyze it too hard.
Yeah. I like a lot of some of the dark metal stuff. It's been fun. There's some cool concerts that came through here recently. That was it Cannibal Corpse and the True Mayhem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the Concourse.
Yeah, that was rad. Went and saw that. God, that was a ton of fun. As well as Boxes You Check. I'm not a dabble with some death metal, but I was like, yeah, it's Cannibal Corpse. You should go see that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
It's last time Slayer was in town, I had to go see Slayer. So
yeah, Death Clock's on tour from Metalocalypse.
I want to go so bad. They're playing in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I might drive. I was like, Cincinnati isn't that far.
It's not. It's a good drive.
Yeah, that's where I went to go see the Devin Townsend and Animals as leaders, and God, who's the headliner? Dream Theater.
Yeah.
Which I actually left for them. It's hard to follow those other two acts. Yeah, not instrumental-wise, just the vocals really suffer, in my opinion. But yeah, so I kind of want to go up for that because I've never seen them. I've seen Dragon Force a handful of times.
I want to see Dragon Force. I want to see Deathclock. I think Baby Metal's on that tour too.
Are they really?
I think so.
That'd be fun.
But Deathclock and Baby Metal have toured together recently, at least. But Dragon Force, I need to see Dragon Force.
Yeah. It's a ton of fun to watch that live.
Oh, I bet the production's huge.
Yeah, and they're usually fast. Most of those bands usually play faster live too.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah.
And that's crazy to think of because that's some of the fastest music. You can just randomly be like, hey, this heavy metal's fast as shit.
Yeah. So you guys are hitting what's possible, and it's and then usually with the drive of being live, play a little faster yet.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
I love it.
Side note, childhood experience, Guitar Hero stuff.
Yeah.
Watching everybody flip shit when Through the Fire and the Flames came out on Guitar Hero.
It's I've listened to these guys for years. Welcome.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then you spend the next 6 months and you and your friends, I can't fucking do it. And this is bullshit. Why does this exist?
Yeah, I never
torturing yourself.
I watched enough of it. I never tried I probably had the dexterity or the speed with the hands because I was ripping blast beats and stuff and I was playing in bands. I think that far ago, but yeah, I saw a couple of guys get pretty close to drilling it. Yeah, that was impressive.
I would just have to say I enjoy not being on the PlayStation too much. I play the shit out of some video games, but I'm not going that hard.
Yeah. I had a brief couple years where I played some first-person shooters on the PC pretty aggressively, like Counter-Strike, but that was probably 15 years ago or more. I think the newest system I own is a Dreamcast.
That's not new.
Yeah, no, I do have a Nintendo Switch.
But I applaud you for having one.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it is out and functioning. Yeah,
good.
I haven't played it in a while, but yeah, it's there to be had if I do.
My Genesis is on the shelf in the living room.
Yeah,
I still break that thing out every now and again.
Oh yeah, I've got a room upstairs where it's just all the old video game systems and
Taz Escapes from Mars is still the cartridge I go to first.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally bought a Nintendo Switch because they made a Streets of Rage. They did another one of those, and that was one of my favorite video games from
It's
childhood.
oh no, twist my arm.
I know, I was I'm buying this system exclusively just for this game. If I don't even play another game with that, I'm still cool with that. Money well spent.
Right, always. Could be 1 hour of playing, could be 2,000 hours of playing. It's money well spent.
My sister played a lot with me when we were young, so we'll do a Zoom call and
talk smack over the internet.
Yeah, and just and get a co-op going and go rampage through some levels.
Hell yeah. So switch gears back to the art here.
Yeah.
So what organic forms inspire you in your artwork? Because you've got some really organic shapes and really natural shapes in your work.
The tree silhouettes, I've had a lot of fun with that. I'll usually burn the outline, then to give it texture, I'll fill it in with another burning pen just to kind of hatch it, just to fill it up so it has that silhouette aesthetic that has a texture to it. The flowers were pretty new, the vases with the twisted aluminum wire. Yeah, kind of these guys up top. There was Lino Tagliapetri's a famous Italian glassblower. I hope I got the name totally right there, but he used to make cylinders and vases, and he would just take this piece of hot glass and wrap it around a wet piece of wood, and then yank the wood out, so it's almost like a corkscrew.
Right.
And he'd have that kind of coming out of the top of the vase.
Neat.
And I always thought that was such a cool look. And I've tried to replicate that in glass a few times, not very successfully. But that's what kind of began to inspire the kind of flower stems, like that twist.
Yeah.
Which I stole that from one of the welding shows. It was on Netflix too. Not one where they make knives, where they actually make art. I can't remember what it was called though. But yeah, you just take like 3 strands of wire and clamp it in the vise and put the other end in your drill and just hit the drill and it just braids it, which is super cool. And it kind of gives it the ability to shape it and support some stuff. So like kind of going to the flower route was kind of the easiest way to actualize that, I guess. And I've kind of wanted to. I did a big run of that, ton of those, and they're cool and people like them, but I guess that's not for everybody. So I was like, well, this doesn't have to be something literal.
But you also have these things that look way more gnarly.
Yeah.
Like this sculpture thing over here.
Yeah, and like
that looks like you shouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I've ripped some clothes and stuff on a few of these. But I've been like taking stuff up and putting it away.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of going to like almost more this route and kind of the guys in the middle where it's just, you know, things crawling out of the vase that have like almost an insect kind of quality or a robot or something like that. And I've been playing a few video games and watching some shows that were kind of inspired by Dungeons and Dragons a little bit, so I think that's creeping in my brain a little bit.
Yeah,
so like,
fair.
Yeah, kind of like what that is. I'm like, oh, it looks like that like healing herb that you use to cure poison. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm like, yeah, let's cut up some rotors and try to make that and just kind of do something different and neat. People seem to enjoy the few times that I have done something like that, where you cut the sections of the rotors out and then bend them up into like kind of, I'm not sure the exact part of the flower that would be, but. Yeah, so I kind of got back into doing that a little bit more. It looks cool. It's kind of a neat standalone thing too.
Yeah, and you're used to seeing those patterns really flat, and then you have them distorted and stacked.
Yeah.
You put a lot of texture and detail in something that normally isn't like so full of it.
Yeah, and one of the hard things too is, like I said, because it's all bolted together. You know what I mean? Like where that's steel, you could easily like kind of tack that. So like a lot of it is the arrangement is what takes a lot of the time. Like just wandering around and pulling drawers open out here and being like, what can I use to, you know, give this thing some volume and get it off the wood a little bit, but make it look cool and be structural and be able to support it and look neat still.
Like what checks all the boxes?
Yeah, that's when a lot of it is, just kind of figuring that out. So to kind of talk to people like, oh, like how long did it take you to make that? I'm like, oh, maybe, 6 hours or something like that. But 3 of it was just looking at
looking
it.
for parts.
Just staring at it and being like, how do I make this like what I'm thinking it should look like? And, and kind of like my lack of sketching and pre-planning, like sometimes you surprise yourself in good and bad ways.
I'm not a great painter.
Even though like you can add later on, which I've been doing some of that too.
Going back
I
to some
did
of my
one for my
stuff from like
sister
4 or
that was
5 years ago, and
washes of color over it, so you can go see the proper through it. It wasn't anything in particular. It was almost just kind of pattern work, a little paint, a lot more of the stuff. I don't do that much anymore, so organically kind of
is that just a refinement of the process, or just something you're stylistic?
Yeah, again, I'm not, I was sanding it off most of the time and having to do it multiple times because I don't have the time into it, so like I'm not great at it. And then I used to try to paint the metal, which, even when you primed it and like hit it with multiple coats, if you just tapped it against anything hard, it would just chip. So I kind of started getting away from doing that, and I just noticed too, I'm like, yeah, it actually looks a little bit better. I don't know if I'd say organic, but just having the different shades of metal versus them all being painted black.
Right.
Which could look cool. I guess if I had access to like powder coating or something like that, I'd maybe play around with it more because, that's not coming off.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sure not.
Yeah. So if I had like a little like oven out here and I was powder coating or something, I might play around with that a little bit more. But I just like kind of at the standalone. I think like the hard metal versus the wood does enough, versus having to add like a lot of paint to it.
So how you feel about carbon fiber?
I like it. I don't. Like most of, like not too much anymore, but a lot of my bikes, carbon wheels, carbon handlebar, carbon fork from that aspect. But I don't use it a lot in art, minus the forks are carbon. It's horribly toxic dust. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Which I need to remedy. I've cheaped out on some of my, respirators, and so I don't want to be messing around too much with that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair.
Yeah, if I get pieces, like I'll use, it's like a lot of the forks that I use for lamps are carbon because they're damaged. So there was some warranties, like recalls that were going on, with some structural integrity issues for riders. So
But they're fine for lamps.
yeah, totally. Yeah, which is cool too because like usually the carbon ones aren't damaged. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just like, well, there might be some like little crack in it, but like it's not safe for him to operate. But as far as what I'm using it for, you'd never notice.
Yeah, it's so overbuilt for a lamp.
Yeah, I did one recently too. That I was like kind of like laughing at myself when I was done. I was like, it was off of the frame broke, so they gave him an entire new frame set with a matching fork.
Yeah.
And I had taken that fork and altered it in a way that it could never be used again. Essentially, and made a lamp out of it. And I was like, you just made a $200 lamp out of a $400 fork that there was technically nothing wrong with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, did you devalue something you could have sold and made more money off? Yeah.
That's when you're just like, art supplies,
Yeah, like, it was funny. And then some guy asked me about that. He's like, oh, how much does that lamp cost? I'm like, oh, it's like $200. He goes, what would that fork run to? I'm like, oh, probably like $5.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I guess that's fair. I'm like, yeah.
That's just a very valuable lamp.
Yeah.
Is how I see that. You get way more value in the purchase of this lamp than you realize.
Yeah, I figured too, like, a lot of guys that are like super into it, got money to spend too, so hopefully that would create a demographic.
If folks are out here spending a lot of money on their bike, I think they can drop a good coin on a lamp.
Yeah, so they got like a cool, garage space or something, like some little man cave or den that they want to throw all their stuff up at.
Yeah. Is that?
We shall see.
What's your customer, your clientele base? Is it?
I don't know, because I famously have not been selling much. Recently, I've done better.
The common dilemma.
I kind of talking to some of the people that are employed at like the Emporium, because people that are coming to these, not thinking if it's a couple, maybe not both of them are into the arts. So like I seem to get a good response from people that obviously ride bicycles, but people that are motorcyclists, all that kind of gearheads always.
Yeah, the mechanical.
Oh, cool!
Aspect.
I can appreciate this, But then people kind of all sorts. Because they said they like the hard and soft, like the wood and the metal, or like the organic stuff where it's like the flowers and stuff like that. I think is kind of neat. So yeah, I'm not sure as far as like who's buying it yet. I gotta unlock that mystery.
Still working on that one.
Yeah, still working on that. But I think like the product is good, and I think I'm going to some events where people are there, for art. So hope to see what that looks like.
Yeah, you're definitely getting the right crowd.
Yeah.
The people that are intent to consume these things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I'm I don't know if I'd say like. I'm trying to think of the few pieces that I sold. It was, one guy who worked at one of the bicycle communes downtown. He bought a piece from the Emporium. The other was just like kind of a little bit of an older lady, and she enjoyed the flowers aspect of it, and the colors were right. Got some electrons moving in her brain in the right direction.
Right.
So,
Tickled her fancy, so she had to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a ton of some of the like more vendor shows I've gone to, pop-up market type things. A lot of people like to talk about the like what it is and like the pieces, parts, and the process, and I always get great feedback. They just don't leave with them, so
Yeah.
I got to unlock that. That's like for a nominal fee, it could be yours.
Yeah, it's seeing the difference between a good day and a quote unquote not good day at an event is really funny sometimes.
Yeah. And it's hard to find like what works, and like I think staying in the art side of things is probably better for me. I've made craftier stuff, simple things where like how the fashion industry will do it. You're like, oh neat, like like a Michael Kors purse or something like that. Like he's got his stuff that's $1,000, but then he's got his stuff that's at like Target. So like you can still kind of get something from his universe, but without having to spend an extreme premium. So
Right.
kind of play along with that a little bit too. Some kind of small stuff if you like the idea of the wood and the sprockets, make a little tiny thing to sell. But
You had one of your larger board assembly pieces. You had like a diamond shaped or a hexagonal shaped thing. It almost looked like a bug on it.
yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
It looked like it had like 4 levers and some brake discs and like a hexagon of some dark colored wood and a piece of jewelry on it. Like that to me of all the work that you have on your Instagram right now, that one piece of that sculpture was really what got me out of
Yeah,
that
it was
thing.
insect looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was some rotors. I sold that at Yeehaw Brewing had a bike swap, like a just for bicycle swap, like
Yeah.
components. You know what I mean? It's like I brought yeah, like half my table was some of my art. The other half was like just takeoff components that I had for sale. And there was a colleague of one of my coworkers came, who's a cyclist or big into seeing those athletes, and he's a physician. So he got that for his waiting room.
Nice.
I thought that was kind of rad. But yeah, that was kind of neat. I like the insect idea. I think I might play a little bit more with some of that. I think I could pull that off if I put a little bit of time into it.
Yeah, you could definitely make some mechanical things seem really organic. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like kind of like this is like the start. I think of something that I might be able to use for that. Kind of pincers and kind of antenna type stuff. So lots of legs. Then it got it freestanding on its own too. Just kind of turn it on its side and play along with that.
I like these ideas.
Yeah.
I like these ideas a lot.
Yeah, that should be something I should play around with a little bit more.
Plus, that could be some of those like desktop size things that people could just, be on the smaller end of your spectrum, and people could just grab and have.
Yeah, right. Something, like some of the cool office space stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mechanical bugs. I'm here for it. I engage and indulge in such tomfoolery.
Yeah. That's cool.
For sure. So what ideas are you working with right now? Are you like fleshing any ideas out? You got any moonshot projects?
Not. I think that when we were talking about kind of doing something a little bit more like organic, like where the whole thing is like something more insect-like, or some kind of weird like Cthulhu face or something with like tentacles or something kind of crazy like that. I want to play around with some welding a little bit more. This is new. No one's seen this yet.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
This is great when it's not a video podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? Right, like close your eyes. I'm going to take you on a vision of what this looks like.
Imagination.
I don't usually make stuff like that, so my sister kind of got me a little bit into doing that.
Oh. Yes.
The bird was a thing. Yeah, because that took... everything else was quite rapid. So it's pretty literal. So it's I took a piece of wood with some live edge to it and only turned, it's maybe like a 3-inch by 3-inch, maybe about 18 inches long, and only turned the middle of it, and then created a kind of mechanical woodpecker, like he had done that sculpting on it. Kind of like, what was it, Clash of the Titans? What was that owl? Boo-Boo or Bobu? That's a old reference. Yeah, that's a 70s.
I know the movie, but you got me on the
specific. Yeah, it had this
specific.
crazy mechanical owl that was flying around in that movie, so I was kind of trying to pull that in a little bit, but to try to make something that literally, like it looks like a woodpecker, so I use like pliers for the head.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
That's a little different than what I usually do. I struggle with some of that kind of stuff.
And you've got the jewelry piece there in the middle.
Yeah,
and
same with right here.
Is that some too? The jewelry pieces right here.
Yeah, it sounds like a necklace.
Okay.
It's almost like triangle pieces that were all linked together. So I cut each one of those individually off and kind of stacked them almost like how feathers would lay.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah,
100%. That's great.
Yeah, so doing the bird took a while to kind of figure that out.
Yeah, you just see it all laid out on the desk. You're like, how do I put this together as a bird?
Yeah, that just pile of just black sprockets. I'm like, how the hell am I going to make this work? So like I took some like real thin like birch veneer, some like 3 mil thick stuff, and kind of roughly got the shape of the bird, so I can start like laying things on top of it and be like, how the hell is this going to work? And just kind of was able to get like that's part of the rotor that I cut out over there, and then got pulley wheels and pulley cage from a rear derailleur and a bunch of cogs. So. That was kind of rad. That's different.
No, I really enjoy that.
Yeah, where it's like an actual thing versus just like a, I guess the flower ones are kind of literal too, but making like animals and stuff is a little bit trickier.
That's a bit more literal than the flowers.
Yeah, so that's a little bit different. So I might do a little bit more with that. I've done some like sculpting in the past where I've tried to do some carvings of like animal heads and stuff on things, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I gotta put more time into it. I usually get about halfway through, and it's just like, it's quite tedious too, and just the lack of experience. You're like it's easy to kind of want to walk away from it.
I put myself in a corner like that recently. I decided that I was going to 3D print some animal skulls and then paint them and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my comfort working with 3D is pretty high, but making sure these things come out the way they need to was a pain in the ass.
Oh yeah. Speaking of skulls, I had someone that asked me, a guy I used to ride bikes with who'd bought a few things off me. Wanted me to make up a bull skull and with like handlebar, for like antlers and stuff like that. And I was like, I could probably do that. And yeah, I got maybe halfway through trying to do the skull, and I was like, this is just chaos.
What was the scale of that piece? Like
it
life size, almost 2/3.
Yeah, maybe half of like a real bull head, but I mean the bull skull was was about as big as a football, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I was using like bullhorn handlebars from a bicycle. You know what I mean? I was gonna like actually mount it on that piece of wood that was right there that I used for the woodpecker one. Yeah, this kind of it was a cool piece of like recovered oak from a barn from Iowa, so it's real kind of coarse, neat looking wood. Just like again, like when it's real like that, I don't know. My brain doesn't want to like cling to that concept. Like I can see it, and I've always referenced photos, and I'm like, I know where things kind of need to be, but I just don't have the right tools for the job either. So I'm making it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Just trying to carve all that wood. I got like the softest wood I could find, so I can really cover some ground quick. You know what I mean? Just I'm trying to get those shapes right, but yeah, it just made my brain hurt in like an uncomfortable way too. I was like, my whole body is rejecting this concept. Just
trying to make this hurts.
Yeah. Like at least he was cool enough to be. I finally like shut the project down. I think he was bothering me for it. Not he's been very polite about it, but I told him I'd make it, and I was well over a year I think since we originally talked about it, and I was like, yeah, this isn't going good. I was like, I'm happy to make you something that's kind of more what I'm doing right now, and nearly give it to you for free since you've been so patient, but like that kind of went down. You got a cool piece.
We ended up with something good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's got art. I made a couple bucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Side note, I hope everybody's still enjoying the rain.
Yeah. I might need to shut the door here in a second. I'm starting to take on some water, and there's a.
Yeah, we got some wind.
Yeah, I might actually do that.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah. My
now this
electric bike trainer sitting right there.
If I had sponsors, this is where I would read the commercials, but I don't, so we're not.
Very much like my Pittsburgh house. I'm like, why do I get all these garages that take on water?
That has to be the bittersweet part of a 2-car garage.
Yeah. I'd like to eventually get if I can bring a car in here. I almost can. That's one of the end goals, but
I can't fit my car in my garage either. Don't feel bad.
Oh no.
No, I've got tables and all kinds of other things in there that I'm trying to turn it into an art gallery because
nice.
I have my own selfish drives.
Yes.
But yeah, there's like my 3 trikes and all my camping gear and display gear for vending and whatnot. So, all my tents, all my tables, all my shit. That's how that goes.
Yeah, having this thing on casters that may lathe and stuff was, I thought I could eventually just push it all up against the wall and just bring one car in here, but you get such little snow and salt. It's not as bad in the vehicle. Of course, the sun probably is, pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, so it can be.
I'd like to at least bring one of our cars in, so both of us have fairly new vehicles.
You Rochambeau for it?
Yeah.
Who's parking in the garage today, honey?
Yeah, my car's black. It's going to soak that sun up even more.
Yeah.
But in Pittsburgh, though, we had like this crazy garage that you probably couldn't pull a car into if you wanted to. Maybe something small, but it's so hilly out there. Our house is on the hill, kind of, the street would descend away from it, but our driveway was had to have been 25 or 30% incline.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obnoxious. Yeah. I remember you had to go shovel it. I would just stand at the top of it and drop the shovel in front of me like a plow and just slide down it. You know what I mean? And that'd be my initial pass. Hopefully don't catch a seam and just take the the handle of the shovel right in the gut. But
right.
Yeah, I don't miss that. I was like, oh cool, 2-car garage that actually could fit cars in it on a flat driveway. This is gonna be awesome, and still no cars in it. The garage is mine.
The irony.
I'm used to having basements too. I miss that I'm a basement dweller.
Man, me too. I'm very happy where I'm at is surrounded at least on 3 sides by dirt.
Yeah, I lived in basements when I was young, and that was always I always take over a basement,
especially with a fireplace.
Yeah,
basement with a fireplace is like heaven.
Yeah, we just awesome finished basement in Chicago when we lived out there. It was super cool with a little office off to the side of it, and I'd use that to assemble stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to love the basement space.
So the shop you have now, is this the best setup you've had so far?
Yeah, probably. It's definitely like the most organized. I have the most space because usually I'd have like a room. You know what I mean? Instead of like a desk and like maybe like one of those like kind of pop-up plastic shelves with some bins on it. So having like the whole space is cool. I've got some nicer tools and before. I mean, my bandsaw is pretty tired, but the lathe is good. Kind of got a pretty good handle on that. Yeah, I've got most of what I need, and like I said, it's about 15 minutes to get to downtown where I have access to like planers and joiners and table saws and stuff like that. So not
the big stuff you don't want to fit in here.
Yeah, because if I get that, it's over. Like nothing's ever coming back in here. Yeah, and then,
because you put a table saw in here, you're not parking a car in here.
Yeah,
that's a commitment.
Yeah, and then at that point I gotta start getting like dust collection systems and stuff like that, and that's all huge money stuff. So I'm like, I'm hoping this will fund itself at some point. You know what I mean? It almost is. I'm trying to use the sales I need to conjure the stuff I need to show better and to have the tools I want and stuff like that. Trying to sell art to buy a 10 by 10 white pop-up tent for the
isn't and that's like that vicious cycle, like, oh well, if I sell this I need one of these because then I'll have money to buy that thing, and then you sell the next thing after you bought that thing, and then it's another thing you feel you need. Making art and vending art are two totally different beasts.
Yeah.
Because I make stuff. I hardly ever think about the logistics of setting up and selling stuff, which I do, and it's its own beast. But when you're in the middle of the process, you're never like, oh man, how am I going to display this in my Easy Up? Like.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's what's in the last 3 days. I wasn't sure they were going to be down here. I wanted to keep everything as kind of tidy in here as possible for this, but just trying to make some displays, because this was one of the first ones I slapped together just from wood that I had sitting around, and that the pipes were for our kitchen to put shelves on, and never ended up coming to fruition, so I took it and made that out of it. So I was dragging that thing to shows.
At least it's on wheels.
Yeah, it's on casters, which is cool, but it doesn't fold up. Right. Yeah, so that was like half my vehicle right there, shoving that thing in it. I'm like, this is silly. There was a ceramicist that was at one of the shows that I was at that I kind of ripped off their idea for how she displays her stuff. Basically built some wood racking that opens like a book, and you just lay boards across it once it's open. Nice. And I did that same kind of aesthetic where you just take like pine wood and hit it with a torch, and it
char it up a little bit.
Yeah, like the sap wood part of it doesn't burn, but the rest of it does. Kind of that kind of cool like marbleizing or like tiger eye aesthetic. So I just built 2 of those. Which costs a little bit more money than I would have thought it would. Using like commercial grade wood. You know
damned
what I mean?
If you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, that was $150 with like, with the hardware and varnish and stuff. And then a tent and then admission to some of that stuff. So yeah, I'll be going into like dogwood arts, probably like $1,000 into that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. So the tent I will obviously use afterwards.
Yeah, the cost per use goes down, but the initial purchase is always like a little bitter.
Yeah, so it's like that stuff all folds up super nice and flat, so I can lay that down in the base of the vehicle, and then figuring out how to transport some of this stuff's been wild too.
So this is where long roof station wagons come in real handy, right?
Yeah, man, the wagon is awesome. I've like famously had like sedans, at least like I've been able to borrow somebody's vehicle, but I can fit more in that Outback than the 4Runner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I can fit everything I need for like a camping excursion or a market day in the back of my car.
Yeah.
Sometimes those things are the same thing, but all the shit I need can easily fit in the back of my car. All my tables, my tent, my sleeping tent, my Easy Up, all the shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go one of those like cargo things for the top eventually too. I got some friends that have got a bunch of them that they really part with one for cheap, so that'll help. Yeah, I've been kind of just like shoving stuff in like big plastic bins and hoping for the best. Like it's so weird. It's huge and heavy, and like the shape is bizarre, and like although like you never stems.
Think about that on the front end of the project.
Yeah, I think I've got the boards that hang on the walls kind of figured out. I got a huge Tupperware container that I can probably stack 3 or 4 in safely, but the flowers have been super hard to figure out how to get those with any kind of.
What do you do with that? Just strap it in a seat and throw a seatbelt on it?
Some of them I just lay down on the seat, which takes up a huge amount of the space because you can't go up with it. But like one of those big kind of Home Depot plastic bins, I'll stand them all up in it, and then I'll just pack tons of padding around them so they can't move. Yeah. And clang into each other. But yeah, not super ideal as far as it's been working, but I got to figure out something better. Even with like kind of thinking about when you sell them to somebody too.
Yeah,
like
are they going to carry this thing around all day?
Yeah. So like I bought sold tags, for Dogwood Arts to be like, hey, why don't you go walk around and come get this when you leave,
Yeah.
But I've gotten some kind of squared boxes that are tall, like a shoe box, and I just cut the very top of it off, so I can at least get most of it in there, and the flowers will kind of crawl out the top.
I think that's ridiculous and entertaining anyway. Like, just have the stuff sticking out the top, so
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you're walking through the crowd and it's a mystery what's in the box.
like,
But there's
what is
some
that?
silly shit sticking out of the
Yeah,
box.
I know, right? Like,
so what could it be?
yeah, like some of these, it's just like, like that big one. It's like, I don't know, like I could deliver it if you're local, like I don't like that'd be weird to send that out because they're pretty rigid, but you can bend them, obviously.
Right.
Know? So like if something fell on it or it rolled over funny on itself, it could potentially
it's probably going to be okay.
alter it. Yeah, it'd be fine. You could just bend it back out. But yeah, that was something I've kind of been thinking about, trying to get a better handle on. I'm like, how am I going to send this home to somebody? But I think that's probably the best thing I've got so far. That's
a good problem to have, though.
That's true. Yeah, non-discreet box with just some bubble paper in it so it doesn't rattle around and stuff can be popping out the top. And just, I don't know about the wall hangings as much. At least that's a board. You can just kind of set that on a seat or something.
Is there a circular saw blade on the back of that one, or is it just on the pegboard?
Oh no, yeah, that's attached to it.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes we'll hit like estate sales and garage sales. I haven't done that in a while, but yeah, that's where you get all the cool like vintage jewelry pieces.
Right.
I got some really cool amber that I've been using to like stick in the middle of flowers and stuff from that. Yeah, some guys just had a big stack of circular saw blades, so I grabbed those up.
I send those down and practice pinstriping on those.
Oh, okay.
Anytime I can, like, somebody's refinished their bathroom or whatever, and they got a bunch of circular saw blades, I'll ask on my Facebook sometimes, hey, y'all got any of these laying around? Broken? Dull? You don't need no more?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And sometimes I'll come up with a few. It works out.
Do you try to pinstripe like other things in, like motorcycles?
I'm not confident using enamel paint on people's cars yet.
Okay.
So maybe one day, but right now it's just for practice. But I do similar styled things in acrylics on canvas and aluminum panels and stuff like that. So
yeah, I've seen. I worked for Harley Davidson for I don't know, maybe 7 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used to have pinstripers come to events and just pop up in the parking lot.
Yeah, I would really enjoy that.
Yeah.
I'll show you the stuff I painted the other day.
I'm pretty good. Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so that was at the Pigeons Playing Ping Pong concert the other day at the Mill and Mine. Shout out those two entities for having me there and letting me do my thing.
I like the Mill and Mine. It's a cool space.
Yeah.
I've seen 2 good shows there. Yeah, that's right. I like the one on the left. I like the colors.
I had that's more structured traditional stuff. The one on the right was some silly freeform stuff. It's a bit more 70s and psychedelic in the pinstripey scenario. But I had some guy come up to me and his eyes were all big and he's like, "Hey man, that looks like some kind of fiery space dragon." And as he said these things, he continued to crouch towards the floor to get a different angle on the painting. And I was like, "It's still a space dragon down there, dude."
Yeah. Looking for the chink in its armor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the kind of things that I get into with that sort of stuff. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a worthwhile journey as far as like learning a new skill set and technique and brushes and.
Oh god, yeah, brushes. Yeah, they. A lot of my friends were painters. I used to hang out with a lot of them when I lived in Cleveland. A lot of my friend circle and roommates were Cleveland Institute of Art, students and stuff. So I got to see what a lot of people were up to. And
I only get nerdy about the pinstripe brushes.
Yeah.
And that's because you kind of have to.
Yeah. I think it is one of those things like, you really need to have the right tool for the job if you really want it to come out the way it's supposed to. And something like that was like with like calligraphy, like when you kind of roll it, it like gets that like wider stroke, then back to skinny again. That's what I wanted to do is doing some stuff with some bikes. It was like almost like a little metal vase, and you fill it with paint, and it like basically.
Oh yeah. It's like a ballpoint pen.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah, it just like he was just using it to like kind of go around some joining he did where the tubing came together, just to like trace.
Those tools are also used a lot in auto body refinishing, so like paint touch up and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was super cool. I was like, that's neat. I like that.
Yeah, it's like a number 2 sized pencil device with a little hopper on top.
Yeah,
and it just runs through to a little ballpoint thing, and you just draw with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was super cool. I've never seen that before.
I've seen one in person.
Yeah.
And an auto body guy came over and showed it to me, and he's just like, "Hey man, check this out. I'm gonna use it like this." And I was just like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
Blew my mind for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I've got a drawer full of like oil paint and like acrylic paint and some like basic brush kits I got from some like an actual art store, but yeah, that doesn't see much use. Maybe.
Well, you'll have a day where you're just like, shit, I need to do this today.
Yeah.
You'll sit down on it at some point.
Yeah, I like the idea of there being some painted something like maybe in the center of something, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like a feature or, you know, on something, you know, something like to drive the aesthetic of it, but not like where it's the whole thing is painting.
Right.
So I'll have to try to probably maybe take a class or something. I'm sure somebody local or some community college has like a weekend class you can buy into or something to try to get some tips and tricks just to get you going again.
Somewhere. I mean, there's enough going on. Surely that's happening too.
Yeah, I know a lot of the like art schools or art play spaces usually have some kind of course you can get into that's for, you know, people that are, you know, I guess not employed there, but going to school there.
Yeah. So I've got a few more questions. We're about to hit the hour as it stands, so okay. I got a few more questions, and then we can wrap this up. Do you find Zen or flow state in your work at all?
Yes, maybe not like in the Zen kind of way. Flow state, I think, is a little bit more appropriate. You're employing a different circus, but you're turning off the main one, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like how you said that.
Like you're kind of like, all right, cool. Like all the like stupid things I don't want to deal with. You know, I still feel like a child trapped in an adult's body. You know, as far as like how like I conceptualize a lot of things. But it is like that cool, heightened sense of what you're doing, but everything else is kind of shut down. Yeah, it just kind of like, you know, turns off the carnival for a while, and you just kind of like get to focus on something cool, what you're doing. So that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, like that process is enjoyable to the point where like even if I don't ever sell any of this stuff or just give it all away or just, you know what I mean? Like just chuck it in the trash. It's still worth doing just for the enjoyment.
Yeah, the making it is the thing.
Yeah, I even have that with like bicycles. I never keep bikes long. You know what I mean? Because like I just want to build it. And then, cool, it's done.
Ride it for a week.
I'd be like next one. And first, it's a horrible waste of money to do it like that. Yeah, because you never get your money back on.
Yeah, we were talking about how expensive hobbies were earlier.
Yeah, custom built bikes. Yeah, you spend 20% more and you usually get nowhere near like what it would be if it was like a out of the box one with that quality.
You sound really confident in that statement too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I build all mine from the frame up, and even with industry pricing, it costs a fortune. You rarely get it back. That I do like, and that is a huge part of why I do it. I think maybe it's just a good way to get that stuff out of your brain into something actual. Yeah. Maybe like that's what feels good about it.
I agree with that.
That glass blowing, I mean, that form from fire, but it's like, you know, something from nothing is kind of neat. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like that's a ton of fun. Especially just like when you don't have because I don't plan everything out much at all, so it's kind of fun sometimes that way too. You know, just like seeing what it actually looks like, you know, kind of compared to what you were like conceptualizing a little bit in your head to what it actually turned into when you employed the materials you have and like, you know, the mediocre skill set you're conjuring up. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of cool.
It's one of those, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like I know it needs to be a bird, and let's see what it actually comes out looking like.
Yeah. And if you were to suggest me to have anybody else on the podcast sitting in your seat,
oh gosh,
who would it be?
So this would be an awesome time to like hook somebody up, and I don't know anybody's names. I guess like I've just started kind of like.
This is probably the most on the spot question I ask everybody.
Yeah, so. No, it'd be super cool to be like, oh, this person, because I know their art's really cool. But one just absolutely atrocious with names too. Like I haven't really met too many.
God, I'm so much better with faces.
Scene.
I'm that guy.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I've done like that Emporium showing, and then I did one that was at the Fountain City Art Center. So I met a few people there, but I might be able to like figure it out based on some of the photos, but I don't think I took down any of their information. So unfortunately, sorry, local art people.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's the most on the spot one.
Yeah. No, I'd love to be like, check this person out because they're up to nothing but cool stuff.
I've had people straight up just like, clam up and not, so that's definitely been a conversation killer question before.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'd love to turn you on to somebody who's doing super cool art I like, but yeah, I don't have anybody to say.
Well, that's okay. That just means you have the opportunity to meet and learn.
Yeah, until I get to take a picture of their placard next to their work too, so I can recommend.
Well, Keith, this has been an excellent conversation.
Yeah.
Tell people where to find you on the internet.
Yeah, so I am at KW Bryant Art on Instagram. That is my pretty much only source for my social media at the moment. I'm definitely planning on getting into some proper .com type website. I'm absolutely atrocious with computers. So it's like I built things out of wood, of course. You know what I mean? So I need to figure that out. I'd love to have a live inventory in, just like examples of stuff, especially with like trophies, if people want to do something custom, like at least they can see what things look like or what it could look like. So that's definitely on the radar. But yeah, for Instagram for sure. KW Bryant Art. That is where I can be found at the moment.
And if you're like me, email him too if you really need to talk to him.
I believe, I got my email address should be on there. But if not, it is kwbryant84@gmail.com is a way to get a hold of me as well.
There we go. And all these things will be in the episode notes, details, text adjacent shenanigans. Everybody, you know what you're supposed to do. As my wonderful listeners, please share, like, rate, subscribe, all that jazz. I really appreciate that you listen. And you tell me that you listen sometimes, and that's great. So next time you have a friend in the car and you know they've never listened to the show, just turn it on. Just turn it on until they look at you like, what the hell are you doing? Because there's some random people talking about stuff on the radio. So just ask them what they're doing and why they exist and all those things, and put it in their ear holes and make them look at you funny while we're listening to the thing. This has been the newest episode of the KAAMP. That is the Knoxville Area Artist Network and Platform podcast thing. And I'm Thomas Zachary. I will talk at you next time. Go down the button. Yeah.